Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us for our fiscal year-end webinar. My name is Kathy Blackburn, and joining me today is a group of individuals from the Controller's Office that can help answer any questions you may have as we walk through these slides. Today, we're going to be talking about several different deadlines from purchasing, team card, travel, accounts payable, and general accounting. We're also going to briefly touch on next fiscal year recurring payments and then go through some general topics. So as we draw near to the end of the current fiscal year end, we ask that you please send in all your invoices into AP as soon as possible so that they can be processed for this current fiscal year end. We also ask that you clear any POs that you currently have and begin to plan for what you need for the next fiscal year. We hope that you've already been reviewing your ledger, but if you have not, please begin to review your ledger right now to determine if there are any journal entries, journal vouchers, or expense module corrections that need to be made. Those need to be made as soon as possible. Please don't wait to the end of the month to make any of those. Go ahead and submit them now so we can get them in for this current fiscal year end. If you have any invoices that are currently in match exception and you are the requester on the requisition, you should have been receiving notifications every other day that you have a match exception. Please go out there and put in that receipt. Typically, that is what the issue is. Please put in that receipt into PeopleSoft so we can clear those invoices. As we get closer to the end of this month and this current fiscal year, you will be receiving emails from AP about match exceptions. Please respond to those within 2 days. They're just reaching out, letting you know once again that probably you are missing a receipt and they need you to put that in the system as soon as possible. For purchasing deadlines, if you are a purchasing card holder, you need to submit that final expense report for the June billing cycle in PeopleSoft and have it fully approved no later than June 30th at noon. We realize this is a very short time frame, but that is the only way that those expenses will hit your ledger for this current fiscal year end. If you have any questions about your purchasing card, please don't hesitate to reach out to Kim Rose. If you have a need for a requisition for this current fiscal year, you need to submit that no later than June 19th. That will be your deadline for requisitions. Do we have any questions about purchasing deadlines?
So we have a question. Will P-card statements run early like last year?
They will not. P-cards run on the 27th, so you will have the 28th, 29th, and 30th to get those in. So like I said, you will have a very short time frame to get those expense reports in PeopleSoft and have them fully approved before the last day of the month. Any other questions?
Kim has a question. Go ahead, Kim.
Hey, it's just a response. How is everyone doing this morning? Just wanted to reiterate, Kathy, you're completely correct. There's a small window. However, you may start those expense reports so that only thing you will be waiting on is to upload the statement. So you won't further delay or be bombarded because of the other fiscal year-end deadlines. You could go ahead and start those expense reports, and then it'll just be pending the statements that we'll receive within 48 hours after the 27th. Since we've been getting electronic statements like clockwork, we've always received them on the 28th. They all don't arrive at the same time on the 28th, some in the morning, some in the afternoon, but everyone should have their statements on the 28th to make sure that you meet the deadline.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate you chiming in. Okay, anyone else have any questions for purchasing? All right. So if you are a team card holder, The same applies. We will need for you to have that expense report for that June billing cycle in PeopleSoft and fully approved by June 30th at noon. The same holds true that Kim was just referring to. You can go ahead and start working on that now, and you'll just be waiting for that statement when it comes in. If you have questions regarding your team card, please email them to teamcard@mailbox.sc.edu. Questions about team cards? Okay. So for our travel office deadlines, expense reports will need to be submitted in PeopleSoft and in the queue for approval by the travel office by June 19th to ensure that they are reported for this current fiscal year. We ask that if you have any outstanding expense reports that you start cleaning those up. So if you have anything impending, make sure you submit it. If your people are at approval levels 1 and 2 haven't done their approvals, please reach out to them and make sure that they do, so those expense reports make it all the way through the system on or before June 19th. If you have TRVs for students or non-employees, they need to be received in the controller's office no later than June 19th to ensure that they are in the current fiscal year. And for any TAs that are old or where travel dates have passed, please clean those up. The only TAs that should be left out and open when we get to the end of this month are things for travel that happen in July or later. Also for travel, if you have a travel card, those expense reports for the June billing cycle will need to be in PeopleSoft and fully approved no later than June 30th. Travel cards, due to the travel ban, have been suspended for the past 2 months. However, we are still getting credits on those travel cards where travel has been canceled. We will need an expense report done for those credits. If you have questions about any of that, please reach out and email travelcard@mailbox.sc.edu. Do we have any questions about travel? Okay. So accounts payable deadlines, in order to get those invoices in AP and for a June payment, we need those invoices by June 22nd. Like I said at the very beginning of the presentation, send in all your invoices as soon as possible. That really helps us out. But to ensure that it's posted and paid in this current fiscal year, we will need to have it in the controller's office by June 22nd. For payment requests, you will need to have your payment request submitted and at the AP level no later than June 22nd. We will continue to process as much as possible for payment requests through the end of the month, but we'll guarantee that it's in the current fiscal year if you have it to us by the 22nd. For employee reimbursement non-travel, those expense reports do need to be submitted and at the queue for approval by accounts payable by the 19th. And with those, similar to your travel expense reports, go out there and clean up anything that you have that may be still in the workflow, get people to make those approvals so that we get them all the way through that process prior to June 19th. For fiscal year end, those invoices, you can submit invoices to us through July 2nd for this current fiscal year. Of course, they won't get paid in June if they don't make the previous deadline, but we will get them in this current fiscal year if we have them by July 2nd. For payment requests, that deadline does not change. It's still June 22nd. But like I said earlier, we will make every attempt to continue through payment requests through that very last day. Do I have any questions about accounts payable? Okay. Let's talk one more time about match and budget exceptions. So match exceptions, if you have a match exception, you as the requester on a requisition would have been receiving an email notification every other day that you have a match exception out there. We ask that you go in, if you have those goods, to receipt that in the system so that those invoices will clear. We'll need all match and budget exceptions cleared no later than June 30th at 3:30 so we can make a payment for that invoice before the end of the fiscal year. Accounts payable will be reaching out to folks about match exceptions. Currently, we have about 38 in the system. All but one of those are out there because there is no receipt for the match exception. If there is a budget exception, what that means is that your project is expired or has ended, or you have gone over your budget on the project. And typically what happens is the accounts payable department will reach out to you and ask you for a new funding source. Please respond to them as quickly as possible so they can get that new funding source, make that adjustment, and get that invoice cleared out of the system. Questions on any type of match or budget exception? Okay. We'll move on to general accounting deadlines. Let's first start talking about cash and travel advances and their settlements. We need all cash and travel advance settlements, even partial settlements for this current fiscal year, submitted by June 22nd. Both cash and travel advance settlement procedures can be found on the Controller's Office website. It's important to note that currently your cash or travel advance is sitting on the balance sheet. It has not been expensed until you submit that settlement. So please go ahead and submit those settlements so you can get those expenses in your current fiscal year where they were incurred. To submit your settlement for a cash advance, send it to cashadvance@mailbox.sc.edu, and for a travel advance, submit that settlement to teoffice@mailbox.sc.edu.
Kathy.
If you are handling one of the participant card programs and your project ended on or before May 31st, please submit the settlement no later than June 22nd. The settlement procedures are on the Controller's Office website, and the settlement can be submitted to cards at mailbox.sc.edu. Participant cards are similar to a cash and travel advance. If you don't submit that settlement, then those expenses are not hitting your ledger for this current fiscal year. So you want to make sure that you do that. That also holds true for our business expense cards. If you have a business expense card and your project ended on or before May 31st, please submit that settlement by June 22nd. The procedures are on the Controller's Office website, and you can submit the settlement to cards@mailbox.sc.edu. So to kind of recap that group that we're just talking about, so for a cash and travel advance, or for a participant card or a business expense card, all of those items currently sit on the balance sheet, and they don't actually hit your expenses until you submit the settlement. So please, on all four of those, make sure you submit your settlements by the 22nd of June so that those expenses will hit your ledger for this current fiscal year. Do we have any questions about either participant card program or advanced programs?
Hey, Kathy. Becky would like to have something to say.
Sure.
Go ahead, Becky.
Hey, yeah, thank you. I missed the window a little bit. It really refers more to accounts payable. But I just wanted to put in a plug for the supplier team. As you are looking to get all of these payment requests in, all these bills paid by the end of the year, remember that if the supplier needs to be set up, it takes that team, 1 to 3 days, I think is what we have out there, to get that all the way through the system. So if you're pushing up against that deadline, remember to get that supplier in as soon as possible. That's it.
Thank you, Becky. That's very important to be able to get everything through the system for this current fiscal year. Do we have any other questions or anyone else? Okay. So we're going to move on to journal entries. For period 12, which is June, please submit your journal entries by July 1st. This year, like every year, we operate a period 13. So if you have journal entries for period 13, their deadline is July 8th. And when you're doing those journal entries for period 13, it's really important to note in the comments section that it's for fiscal year 2019-2020. And for those journal entry uploads, please put that in the email subject line, that journal entry upload is for fiscal year 2019 and 2020. If you need to do any journal vouchers or expense module corrections, we need them by June 22nd. So remember, a journal voucher is anytime you need to make a correction for something that was processed through the accounts payable module. And an expense module correction form is for any correction that needs to be made, like a chart field that needs to be changed, or anything that went through the travel and expense module. That would be travel expense reports, employee reimbursements, non-travel, or any of the card programs. We ask that you go ahead and do that now. Please don't wait to that last week of June to do that and then try to correct your entire fiscal year. We cannot guarantee that we will make it if you submit them all that last week. So we ask that you send them by June 22nd to ensure that they are in this current fiscal year end. Also, if you have any payroll retro journal entries, if you have anything that needs to happen for the payroll that ended June 15th or prior, we ask that you have those submitted to us no later than June 22nd. And if you have something that falls out that very last payroll, I know that this is a very tight deadline, but we ask that those journal entries are given to us by July 2nd. That way that we ensure that you have made those journal entries and those expenses are happening in the correct fiscal year for you, for your financial statements. So those are the guidelines for those. So please try to adhere to that. Do we have any questions about journal entries in general? Okay. So every year we do offer an option for recurring payments, and that will be a payment that you have that's 6 months or longer and it's the same amount, and it does not require a purchase order. If you think you have something that qualifies for that, please notify the controller's office immediately. That would be Kathleen Spencer's group, and she'll review that with you. And if she receives the documentation for that recurring payment back by June 19th, we will have that set up and ready to make those payments by July 1st. As you're reviewing your financial statements, please remember, if you look at your Z funds, to have those balances as close to zero as possible. And if you have any type of revenue that you earned this year but you haven't received, you're going to need to make sure that you accrue that, and vice versa. That if you have any revenue that you received this current fiscal year, but you're not going to earn it until next fiscal year, you're going to need to move that to a deferred revenue account. If you're not sure how to do that or you have questions about that, please contact Jason Bayshore's area, and they will walk you through that process. Also, as you are reviewing your ledger, please look at revenue and expense accounts that are coded to a miscellaneous account. If those items can be reclassed to a specific account, please make sure you do that prior to year end. Everything that we have talked about today is on the Controller's Office website. Please go out there and look. It's got all the different settlement procedures, different email addresses, different forms that we use. It's all sitting out there on the Controller's Office website. If you have a specific question to a specific area, here's their contact information. Please email them. They will reach back out to you quickly to answer your questions. Do we have any questions at all for anything that we've covered so far today?
Hi, Kathy. We have a question. When can we start entering fiscal year 2021 blanket purchase orders?
Do we have Lana on the email?
Lana's not on the webinar this morning.
Okay. I will answer this generally, but you will need to reach out to Lana to answer that, or to Mac. They should have had a webinar probably last week about requisitions. This year, they're going to let folks start to create requisitions, I believe, on June 8th, which is next Monday, but they still won't be available to you yet, but they will let you start submitting the information. So I am going to refer that to Lana in purchasing, so please email her for the specific guidelines on that. Do we have any other questions? Anything else anyone has a question about?
Go ahead, Kim.
Hey, Kathy, just wanted to just piggyback of what you just said about purchasing. You are correct. They can start entering on June 8th, but the blanket purchase order will not be available until July 1st in the new fiscal year.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that clarification. Okay, any additional questions? All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining us today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.